Hey guys, welcome back to Quick Notes with Chris. Today we're going to be talking about the book Awaken the Giant Within by the author Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is actually one of the most successful, if not number one personal development coach that is in the world today. And he has so many amazing concepts that he actually talks about in this book and other basically books that he expands on some of the points. Now, there is a little bit of jargon that I noticed throughout the book. So if there are some certain terms that you don't understand, I'll do my best to explain it. But basically this book goes on a little bit about self-help. It more so gives you a better understanding of why people do things, how you can actually change the way that you do things and apply some of the different changes in order to get a better benefit out of your life. The first thing he talks about is understanding, I guess, how it is that we operate as people. So, our decisions determine our destiny, not our conditions, okay? Our decisions determine our destiny, not our conditions. It basically talks about your daily habits. Your daily habits will determine your future. What you do on a daily basis, the things that you basically set up in a routine, ends up reflecting how we end up becoming in the future. For example, if you care about your health and on a daily basis you consistently consume good, nutritious food, that's obviously going to reflect in the future. But the same way that also reflects in your relationships. If you care about the relationships that you have around you, you nourish them, you make sure that you treat people the way that they want to be treated, and you constantly look towards growing them, of course you're going to reap the benefits of a positive work environment. But on top of that, when it comes to the business world, same with the success principles. If you're reading 15 minutes a night, 15 minutes of a book a night, if you're actively making sure that you're hard worked, you're disciplined, you set things out in a very detailed manner, of course it's going to reap a higher reward and a better level of success. So it talks about how your daily decisions determine your future, determines your destiny, not your conditions. Your circumstances are a result of your habits, and you have the ability to change your habits, which is really awesome. It's a very simple way that he puts it in order for you to have a further understanding. Now, the next thing that he talks about, now this concept is amazing, and I really like the actual idea behind it, and it's 100% true, at least from my opinion's perspective. So, the beliefs of previous events shapes our lives, not the events itself. So our beliefs on how we personally view an event in our life shapes our life, not the event itself. For example, he talks about how alcohol was something that he actually does not like at all. And the reason why he doesn't like alcohol at all is because when he was growing up, he ended up drinking too much, ended up getting so incredibly sick, so then he associated that with pain. Now, pain, and essentially he's consistently looked at alcohol that way ever since. Now, a similar story, and what you can take away from that, before I start delving into it a little bit deeper, is that you actually can control based on your actions and feeling around an event, right? You have more control around it than you think in order to determine how you actually want to be as a person. For example, Shaquille O'Neal grew up in a German army base by his stepfather. His stepfather was in the army, and he was basically situated in Germany. And Shaquille O'Neal was there. When he was a younger teenager, he actually ended up drinking beer. Now, the first time he drank beer, when his stepfather found out, he sat him down and rather than scolding him, made him finish an entire 6-pack or a 12-pack, I believe, entire 12-pack. He wasn't allowed to leave it ever since, and it is because of that Shaquille O'Neal doesn't drink alcohol. So basically what you can take away from that, from the father's perspective, is that he understood that he didn't want his child, or Shaquille O'Neal specifically, in order to develop a poor drinking habit. So rather than just scolding him for it, he ended up tasting the pain himself, so that he constantly associated it with physical pain, right? So what you can take away from that is that if there's a habit or there's a certain aspect that you don't like, maybe for example procrastination, and you attach pain to that type of cycle, or maybe you punish yourself in some way, you force yourself to do something that you don't like, you can actually learn towards overcoming that thing and move it out of your habitual tendencies, move it out of unproductive cycles to make sure that you're actively becoming a better person. It's a really interesting concept. Now, you want to attach pleasure to the things that you want to maintain, the habits that you want to keep within your life. Maybe it's time spent within your business. You attach it because once you hit certain goals, certain financial areas, maybe a certain amount of sales, you reward yourself with it, so that behavior consistently happens. But specifically, what it really talks about is that maybe there is something in your life that you don't look, right, that you currently don't like. That also means that if you reflect hard enough on the situation or previous memory, right, you can actually change your perspective, which then results in you changing whether or not you want that to be a part of you. For example, maybe growing up, you had a mum who thought a certain way about so many people who had divorced parents would have had a mum who thought a certain thing about the other parent, and the other parent thought a certain thing about the other parent. Now, once you're an adult, like growing up, you might have learned to dislike a certain parent, but once you're an adult, you understand that really was the opposite. And that was because you were mature enough to reflect on the previous memories and decipher who was actually being a good person, who was actually being a good parent, and who was being spiteful. And from there, you can actually reshape your opinion of certain aspects of your life. So it's really important that you understand who you want to be by attaching pain or pleasure to certain memories and events in order to consistently grow. The next thing that it talks about is that it create rules to make it easier for feel pleasure and feel hard on pain. So basically your values will develop a quality of the decisions, right? Your values will determine the quality of your decisions. So every single person has their opportunity to choose their own rules, right? The things that they abide themselves by, their integrity that they have within themselves. For example, a really simple one is some people, I'd like to think, majority of people just decide, I'm not going to be racist. I'm not going to stand up for racism. That's a rule that they have. It's very common. It's awesome. It's generally taught in a lot of schools. Now, you can set yourself up with the same rules and same basically levels of integrity with yourself. And if you abide by these certain rules, it allows you to help make valuable decisions in the future. Whenever it comes to, work, whether it comes to maybe choosing salary packets and stuff like that, there's certain things that you won't sacrifice because you have your own rules, right? And, a person who's basically very disciplined is obviously a person who's very skilled. And so on and so on and so on starts to compound and you understand exactly what it is that you're looking for. The next thing it talks about is expanding your references, expand your life. Understanding that if events and our feelings towards these events shapes our circumstances, then expanding your references to these events is obviously going to expand your life. It basically means put yourself in a bunch of different situations that you're uncomfortable with. The more uncomfortable situations that you are with, as long as they're not unhealthy to a certain extent, it allows you to reestablish your references, making you establish your rules, allowing you to be more well depth and well versed in certain things that you like and don't like, and you understand the type of person that you want to be. Because believe it or not, you are the only person who's in control of the person that you want to be. You should honestly always have a view of who you want to be in a year, right? The person that you view yourself becoming in a year's time, and make decisions accordingly. So you do get to choose the person that you want to be. The best way to do that is through experience. The next thing that it talks about is only make important decisions in a resourceful emotional state. It basically means make sure that whenever you comes to making giant decisions, right, don't make them out of emotion. Make sure that you're in a logical, sound mind state, wherever it's relative to the rules that you've set out for yourself previously. Because a person who understands their rules can understand the direction they want to go out in life. It's really just a general self-help tip to make sure that you're always progressing to the person that you want to become, and you never start to regressing into a person that you don't want to be. By being able to make decisions in a resourceful emotional state, it allows you to consistently start striving towards the person that you deem is the person that you want to be. The next thing is ask the right questions. So this is a little bit more skill set. So whenever it comes to brokering deals or talking to people about certain changes or coming to ultimatums, the key is to first understand all the facts. There's a really great example. For example, would you jump out of a plane for $100,000? Well, if you said no, the plane was on the ground. All right. Now, the point of that exercise is that you want to understand all of the facts before you come to a decision. Because of course you jump out of a plane if it was on the ground for $100,000, right? And that's an example of making sure you ask the right questions. Understand as much as you can about a situation before you come to make a decision, if it's at all possible. Okay. And then the next one is understanding your master system. This more is like encompassing everything that we've talking about. So once you understand, I'm sure people have probably met them before, but there's people who always know the answer, who always know what they want to do, who they're very sound, they're very logical in terms of what it is that they're wanting to do. And the reason that is because they've understood their master system. They've understood the rules that they've set for themselves. They've understood everything that they want to become. They understand the direction that they want to go in, so they can always consistently make decisions in the direction of the path they want to go down. That's more of like an encompassing thing for everything that we're talking about. But yeah, Awaken the Giant Within. Great book. Just to summarize everything so far, your decisions determine your destiny, not your conditions. It basically means that your circumstances are controlled by your habits, right? And your habits are always things that you can change. Your belief of certain events shapes who you are, not the events itself. You can always change your perception of an event if you think hard enough and you come to a further decision on how it is that you want to respond to that event. You want to create rules surrounded around the person that you want to be in order to make it easier for you to determine certain questions and routes that you want to go down in terms of life. And your values determined by quality of your decisions, all right? So your value will be determined by the quality of your decision. So understand what it is that you value, right? If you value love, if you value health, if you value money, and make decisions accordingly. Number it, in fact, especially whenever it comes to picking new jobs, going into new business ventures and stuff like that, understanding where it is that you're going to be putting yourself in a position. Expand your references to expand your life. Right, your rules and everything that you come from, if they come from events and your perception of them, obviously putting yourself in the most uncomfortable situations will give you a further reference points to understand and better understand who you are and who you want to be. Always make important decisions in a resourceful, emotional state. Basically, that's pretty self-explanatory. Make sure that you're always sound of mind whenever it comes to making ultimatums. Ask the right questions. This one's awesome. Definitely think that you should always do that, especially whenever it comes to moving into the business world. And understand your master system. That more encompasses the whole thing. Well, pretty much that's all for Quick Notes with Chris. But don't just stop there. Keep going when it comes to improvement. There's still other videos that you can look at and to improve yourself and put yourself in a better position to succeed. Also, guys, we'll see you in the next video.